Chris Schoonwinkel, one of the original Dutch settlers' names, I would imagine.
Yes, we were one of the first arriving in the Cape, Swellendam to be exact. And yeah, well, there's not many of us around.
But you're a farmer. Whereabouts are you farming now?
I'm living in between Wesselsbron and Hoopstad. It's in the northern Free State. Got the other farm next to the Vaal River close by, and mainly grain farming.
And you're on the executive board of Grain SA?
Yes, been a couple of years now on the board, serving Grain SA, yes.
What is interesting is that you were also, in your capacity on the board, you were asked to go by the Americans to Europe, weren't you?
Yes, that was very interesting. In Europe, there's very big resistance against the use of biotech crops. It's not allowed, and they see it fit to send in a South African farmer over there, telling the people that it's safe, it works, and it's sustainable.
Is it the future of crop growing?
Absolutely yes. If you would take that out of crop production around about the world, it probably would reduce the current stocks by 15% because it's got that much effect in yields.
If you look at it, what is it that people are so scared of or so worried about that you can say categorically they're being silly, they don't need to worry?
Yes, I think I've come to the conclusion that it's mainly about politics. And it's sad to say because research showed that it's very safe to use. There's not one case that's been presented around the world that we saw that there's a problem with using it.
So what you're actually saying is without getting involved in the political situation, scare a politician and he'll react and condemn it.
Yes, in the case of Europe, you will not be getting elected again if you say the wrong thing about biotech, which the people on the ground doesn't want to hear.
Why do you think that is? I mean, what is it that everybody's scared of? I'm still trying to get to the root of, is it some bug they're going to die of at an early age, or what is it?
Well, it's very interesting. When I was over there, there's actually school programs teaching toddlers in comic books, in that form, not to use biotech. So they are being learned from a young stage that this is not the way to go. This is not the way to go around food.
And you categorically, totally disagree with that?
Yes, we've been using it in South Africa. Well, not only in South Africa. If you go into a regular food store, there's probably 60–70% of all the kinds of food that you buy in a grocery shop is, to one or another extent, being genetically modified nowadays.
Let's move on now to a farmer's life, because and all the people we've interviewed, we've never ever asked that down-to-earth question, what does a farmer do all day long? Now, it may seem like a silly question because we know that you supply the food chain, but what's a day in the life of Chris Schoonwinkel? Well,
it is on a farm. You want to get up early.
How early?
Well, in the summertime, there's a good saying, from can to can't. From you can see till you can't see. So it's from dawn to dusk. But it's not saying that you immediately start doing your chores or something like that. You start planning. There's a lot of planning going into an operation like this. There's a lot of, and it's, well, in the grain farming, it's seasonal kind of jobs that you have to prepare beforehand. And so planning has got a lot to do with that.
So you sit and have a nice few coffees, some nice rusks, and a nice big boer breakfast before you start.
Yeah, breakfast is actually strange. Coffee, yes. Breakfast, no time. We usually do breakfast, well, that's in our case, we usually do breakfast when we get some visitors, so it's nice to have a full breakfast then. But it's coffee and some planning, and then you're off to go. And from my personal point of view, you can't do farming in South Africa if you don't have a very strict religious point of view.
It's very much a family thing, isn't it? The family have to pull together through good and bad.
Yes, it is. And that's, well, if we can talk about a little about land distribution, it's the problem that we as organized agriculture have. We know it's a family business. It's a thing that you put from one generation to another. You don't just pick up a guy from the street.
But that goes for all colours, class, creeds, and so on.
For sure, it's not race implicated.
Yeah.
No, that's a rule above races. No, races have got nothing to do with that.
Does it annoy you when people bring racist situations into farming?
For sure. Because
how angry? How cross do you get?
No,
do you go and talk to God?
Yes, I do. But because I know a lot of previously disadvantaged farmers. I know them. And I know the skills they have. And I see the frustration they have by not having enough inputs. And they are a farmer. If you're a farmer and it rains, you want to work the land. It's like nature calling you. And you can imagine the frustration you have if you don't have the ways and means, the capital to do that.
You know, we watch movies in South Africa like many other countries do, where you see the farming communities all getting together and building a barn because the farmer's barn was burnt down. Does that prevail in this country across the board?
I think not so much as you would see it in other countries. I think it's a little, well, that has to do a little bit with our past. If you take this country's history, there was a long period for everybody battling for himself and so. But in the new South Africa, I have to say, this is changing. This is generally changing. If you see a guy that's in need, you go and help him. It was there. It's not that it was not done before, but the new South Africa is coming around.
Do you think we need to be told we must do it?
Sorry, doing what?
To change. Do you think we need to be forced to be changed? Or from your heart of hearts, can you honestly look up and say to God and myself here that everything was all right and there was no need to change?
No, everything was definitely not all right. I believe that well, God through His ways showed us that the way we used to get around with each other in this country was not acceptable, not at all. And for the good, it changed. Well, it will be years to come to see what the end of it will be, but I'm very positive for the future. South Africans have got big hearts. If you just look at the situation in the Middle East, how anger is being projected, I don't think we in South Africa are doing it that way.
It would be a disastrous way of doing things, of course, and I think what you're actually saying is we don't want to see that happen here.
No, for sure. If you talk to the people, if you talk going into the subject as we're talking about now, they will tell you it's not their way of thinking. It's not the way that they want to do it. If I say they, it's us all
I was
as,
going to
as a
ask you
society.
that question, Chris, because you mix socially with other farmers in your area. You go to church on a Sunday. Do they all feel like you? Does everybody in that community feel the same as you? Or is it split, or are you a majority and they're the minority that think differently?
Yeah, you will always get somebody that's stuck in the past, but I would say the majority has moved on. Again, if you don't get your mind clear, you will not be making the right decisions. You will be negative, and in my area, well, in the whole grain industry, if you see how the productivity is went up the last 10 years or so, it's a telling tale that farmers is positive. They would not be doing the things they do if they fall into negativity and get circumstances get the better of them.
So Chris Schoonwinkel is very, very positive.
Well, I have to be, as I say, there's trials and tribulations, there is, but we will overcome them. We always will. I think that makes us different as a nation as well. If you go overseas and you see how people go around with each other, and I come back, I'm positive. Yes, there are problems, but I think we have got it in us to overcome that.